And Kylie is one of my friends, and she is one of the top interpreter in Taiwan.
Oh yeah? You know that?
Yeah, if she's not the only one top interpreter in Taiwan. Okay, and she's hosted several famous activities such as Ben Bernanke's visiting Taiwan. She hosted that event, and also a lot of events such as some events with President Tsai, and yeah, and she also cares about the society. She posted some news, and she really so with this outstanding and caring friends. That's very good, and that's also very good to have she here in our club. So let's welcome Kylie Wang.
Okay, thank you. That's a really nice word. There are a lot of good interpreters in the market, but I'm one of those. And my topic today is life as a freelance interpreter. Anyone who does, because I know a lot of people are really good in English. Anybody does any kind of interpretation or translation before? Can you raise your hand? Just one? Oh yeah. We went to the same school. So, okay, kind of. Okay, so anyone here is a freelancer? Freelancer? No? Oops. Okay, so I'm here. Oh yeah, thank you. So she's also an interpreter and we went to the same school. Great, thank you. So it's okay, so I'll just be basically talking to you. So my life as a freelance interpreter, and I will just introduce myself really quick. My name is Kylie. I was born and raised in Taiwan. I went to high school in Sida Fuzhong. Anybody went to Sida Fuzhong? Okay, nobody. Oh, thank you. Hi, 102班. And I went to college in Zhengda, Zhenqi University in Muzha. And I went there for 2 years, but I spent most of my time playing basketball. And I didn't really go to classes. And my mom was so worried, and I almost got kicked out. Almost, I didn't. But I chose to leave before they kicked me out. So I relocated to the States, and then I received my BA in linguistics at Berkeley, UC Berkeley. So the reason why I chose linguistics is the science of language, 语言学, was because during that time I didn't know what I could do. Like everybody, when you were in college, didn't quite sure what you want to do. I even want to play basketball, but I know that I'm too short. And but I really want to do something. I really need to get a degree, right? Otherwise, what's my point leaving Zhengda? So I did get linguistics. I was so scared. I don't think I could do English major in the States, in an English-speaking country. So I chose linguistics. But it ended up still really difficult. So I passed. I got my degree by making a lot of friends. That works, and that really works. And then after I graduated from UC Berkeley, I went to Monterey Institute of International Studies. That's a grad school specifically for training professional interpreters and translators. So I went to school there, and I think that was it. But when I went to the States, I left Taiwan because I played too much basketball. I know that I wouldn't be able to do it professionally. And then I moved to the States. I still tried to get in their school team, but I was too short. I was like talking to the coach. She was like that tall. She was like, "What position did you play?" I was like, "Number 4." I was like, "What?" I was like, "All right." I was really tall in Asia, so I was really sad. And I went to see their, competition. There's no way I can do it. So I switched to Taekwondo but Taiwan is really the best of all, the states. I got championship in intercollegiate in the States. You know why? First, they're easy compared to Asia, because I came back to Taiwan and tried to fight, they're too good. So they're easy, and then because considering my weight, in my weight class, I'm really tall. But in Taiwan, everyone who does Taekwondo is skinny and tall, and I'll become too short in my weight class. Did you get it? Yeah, but in the States, everybody's fat, bigger. Yeah, I have to be more sensitive to cultural difference. Sorry. And people there are bigger, tend to be a little bigger. So I'm considered really tall in my weight class. And if you are taller, you have longer legs, it's easier to get people's head to get 3 points. So But I did get my degree, so I got to manage between my lives and my studies and my sports. So I guess that's about me. Okay, so I'm sure that not everybody is really familiar with interpretation except for. So here you can see interpreters basically work inside of the box like this. Okay, I got a freak, stupid looking box you see in the conference, and it's really hot there. It's not a really good condition. And look at this. This is a microphone and with a headset and also with a console. So this is basically what I usually do, my work condition. And you can see, I have to see through glasses. You can see what's going on the stage. You need to be able to see the screen and also the PowerPoint because you want to know what's going on. And here, why am I doing this stupid thing? Because this is a conference in Beijing, so I flew over there to do interpretation. And they don't have, usually it has to be properly ventilated with the airflow go in and out, otherwise it was too stuffy. But in Beijing, I was shocked because it was an open roof. I said, oh yeah, air goes in and out if you just, don't have a roof. But the thing is, if you do that, when you talk and do interpretation, everybody outside can hear you. Then why do they need the headphones? And then, because usually when you do interpretation, you need to have the input from the earphones. And they do that, and you also will be able to hear the background voice. So it was a really, really bad condition. I complained about it, and then closed it up. I was like, come on, it's stuffy. So that's one of the situations in Beijing I encountered. I wasn't really happy. Okay, sorry, I guess you guys all ate. The thing I really love my job is that I can get to expose to so many different kind of areas, expertise. So on the upper left, this is a medical conference, and it was endoscopic surgery. You know what is endoscopic surgery? That means that you use the scope to see the small incision of the body, and you do treatment and you do surgery. And that one is, I think it's hernia repair. Everybody knows hernia repair? Hernia? It means intestine. You know intestine. Yeah, you eat intestine. We all Taiwanese people do. Intestine fall through your openings in the muscle and get stuck in the growing areas like guys do. Yeah, can I get it? So that was a.
Do you mind if I just say the word?
Oh, 疝气. Yeah. So that was a live surgery. So I was interpreting for doctors from mainland China, and they want to learn how to do endoscopic surgery. And there were only a few endoscopy training centers in the world, and Taiwan in Zhanghua is one of those. So they do a lot of training seminars to train doctors to do endoscopic surgeries. So this is a demo. And it was really funny because usually as an interpreter, we work as a partner, usually 2 or 3 people in a team because you have to switch every 20 minutes. Otherwise your brain got exploded. So I do this, but it was really bloody. I didn't feel really comfortable at the very beginning. At the first day, it was a 5-day conference. The first day I feel a little, grossed up. And second day I can eat, chicken and rice in front of that. You get used to it really quickly. But my partner, who I didn't know in advance, she was recommended by the organizer. She ran away. She couldn't stand it. I was like, it was the first time for me having a runaway partner. Have you ever met that before? No, right? It's impossible. That was the first time, first and last. Hope that's not gonna happen in the future. She just ran away. She said, I couldn't do it. I was like, okay. So does that mean I can get your salary paid or whatever? But doctors came in to help me. Otherwise, there's no way I can do it by myself. So that was one of the really special experience. And on the, you can see at the bottom right, you see 2 beers. That was another interpretation, and I was doing for beer certification training courses. It was a lot of fun, so much better. I like to put these 2 because you can see the contrast. So the beer certification, everyone was doing beer tasting. But you know that if you have Kratz beer, not like Taiwan Pijiu, that was only 5 or 6%. But if it's Kratz beer, usually it can go up to 10 or 11 or 12. And the interpretation, the conference goes for a whole day, 8 hours, and people have to drink 20 glasses. But you can just sip of it, right? And everybody, all those people, they pay so much money, they got 8 glasses in front of them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so they can taste it at their own speed. But I'm an interpreter, I only have 1 glass. And I insisted on trying every beer. I told them, if you don't give me try the beer, I cannot interpret properly. I need to know it in order to have the vivid, the accurate translation of how it really feels, how it really tastes. You know, I don't. But that's what I said. So they did give it to me, but I only have 1 glass. So I drank out every single glass. And then it's good that I've been really well trained with my tolerance of alcohol. I think I was doing really great, but in the morning I was totally fine. People think, wow, I've never seen a girl can drink so much and still interpret. And then in the afternoon I was kind of get a little slower, but people are all getting slower, so it was okay. So it was all fine, and I really liked that interpretation. It was a really fun experience. And I will just introduce to you a little bit of what interpretation is. There are a few different types. First is escort. Have you done that before? Escort interpretation. It was the comparatively easier job because escort means you follow someone. So the most commonly seen one is you go to the exhibition at Nangang or Shimao, the trade show, and maybe American buyers or European buyers, they come to Taiwan, they need to get to communicate with the local vendors in Taiwan. So they do need escort interpretation, so you follow them and translate things for them. It's not really difficult. It still has some challenges, but it's comparatively speaking easier interpretation assignment compared to others. Second is whispering. So you know whisper, right? So whispering is not a really good work condition. That means that they don't have the proper equipment, like you see the headphones, the microphone, and the console in the booth. They don't have that, so you do whispering in your client's ear. So that wasn't really good because you don't get the earphones to get the input of the voice. So you have to hear the background voice, and that was horrible. But sometimes it's needed. In some situation, it's needed. Third one, and the third and the fourth, these two are the most commonly seen setting for interpretation, consecutive and simultaneous. So consecutive is like the speaker speaks for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and interpreter takes notes. And I'll share with you my notes later if you are interested. And I love my notes. I'm a note taker. I'm passionate about taking notes. I'm crazy. You will see it. And simultaneous is you do it at the same time. So when people talk, you continue to interpret. So you need to have a 20-minute switch. You need to have at least one partner to switch with you. So every 20 minutes you have to switch. So that's simultaneous. And this is a consecutive interpretation setting. If you don't know, that's me. And so I was interpreting for the speaker right next to me. He was obviously wandering around, didn't know what he was thinking because it wasn't his turn. So some speakers like that because he can rest and think about what he can say afterwards, right? So it's like, so usually when you do this setting, the time of interpretation or the conference need to double the time because you need some time for interpretation. And this one is a really unique setting. It's relay interpreting. We don't see it that often in Taiwan because usually Taiwan you do Chinese, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and Chinese English. But what if it's an English conference, everybody is speaking English, and you come in, you have English, Chinese interpreter to do the translation. And what if a Japanese speaker comes from Japan without no clue of word in English? So you need to have, if I do English into Chinese interpretation, and you have another Japanese Chinese interpreter to take my translation in Chinese, or from Chinese into Japanese for the Japanese speakers. That's called relay. And we're sure that we all played the game when we were young. You know, the end result usually come out all different, but professional interpreters will never happen things like that. We're all the end results are as accurate as the original speech, right? So, but the thing is that usually when I do simultaneous interpretation, I have a 2-second, 3-second lag. I cannot speak at the same time, I cannot translate. I have to listen first and process the information and then deliver into maybe Chinese or English because I'm a Chinese English interpreter. However, if that takes 2 seconds, but the Japanese Chinese need to take another 2 seconds into Japanese. So if we have a joke, then maybe, after 2 seconds, the Chinese speaking audience laughed, and after another 2 seconds, the Japanese speaker laughed, and they're kind of, but if any language doesn't laugh, that means, maybe that language doesn't do a good job. But that's not fair, which I will explain later. And if you're interested in how we actually do simultaneous interpretation, have you ever thought about that before? Like in the United Nations, you saw all these interpreters doing translation at the same time. How do we do it? Have you ever thought about it? No? Don't care? Okay. So it's like, okay, let's say if you are in a meeting, okay, and your boss is talking and then you don't really care, and you are using your laptop doing line chat with your friends, and then your boss just call you up and say, hey, so what do you think about this? And you stand up and say, oh, I think this and this and that. You are still aware of what your boss just said. Then you may be a good interpreter. That's multitasking. Let's say if you are in college and you don't really need to go to the meeting. Okay, how about in class? And you read the comic books, under your table, which I always did. Now I'm paying a big price. Reading all the comic books, and the teacher call you up. It'll be like you can still answer the teacher's questions. Good interpreter can do that. That's how we do. It's called the theory of 100% attention. So you pay attention, maybe 60% of attention to listening what the speaker says, and you take 40% of attention to do the translation. But it has to change depending on the topic. So you have to be actively aware of how your brain is doing, which is painful. And I don't think that's good for your health either. And sometimes, I remember my first 2 years, after 3 hours of interpretation, my headache was really, really bad. Because you feel like your brain is split into half. If you want to do translation, you want to focus, right? But you still need to allocate some part of attention to listening to what the speaker says. Who can do that? Nobody does. So you have to force yourself to do it. You always need to remember, no matter what you are thinking, what you're processing to translate, you still need to split some part of your brain to listen to what the speakers are saying, which is really hard. But you can try that if you are doing line right now, but you still know what I'm talking about 100%, and still do translation inside your mind into Chinese. Then talk to me. I need some partners. And here input. And it's really interesting as for me, because when I have the earphones, I always need to have the right ear to get input for the voice over the speech, and I always keep my left ear open to hear my translation. So people may have different habits, but it's really fun. If I do the other way, my translation sucks. So I always have to get the input from the right ear. So I think it works between like right brain, left brain, that kind of stuff, which I'm really not really good at, but it makes sense, right? Yeah. Okay, maybe. And another technique is you need to divide into small, meaningful units. So when I talk, like one sentence lasts forever. Some people, when they really don't have a good thread of logic, their sentence goes forever. And you cannot wait forever, right? Then you will wait for 10 seconds and you forgot what he originally said. So you have to cut their sentences into small, meaningful units and just let it go. Let it go. You cannot impose so much pressure on your brain's memory. If you do that, and you'll break down and fall apart. I saw people falling apart in the conference. I can't do it, and cry. That's probably still better than running away. But people do that, especially when you are still students. And I will give you examples of that. I don't know if you are interested in translation, but I think it's really fun. Let me see if I see anything else. Okay. And divide into meaningful units. I don't know if you can all see this. I can read it slowly for you. Like the first example is, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to address this very meaningful gatherings of people who care about current events. Oh, that's a period. Current events. Your sharing and feedbacks are highly encouraged and appreciated. If you try to interpret what I just said, then I'll do extreme examples of dividing into units. I was here, it is indeed a great pleasure, and I cut it and say, 今天非常高兴, and let it go. Don't just keep it in your brain because that will help you to fall apart later. And address is very meaningful gatherings. 今天这个盛会非常有意义, and let it go. So this is dividing into different units. And people who care, you see this is still a same sentence, right? Gathering of people who care, blah, 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 blah. English does that a lot. That's so long, you never know what they're talking about. So you will say, oh, 今天的贵宾都很关心时事, and let it go. So in English into Chinese, you can just cut them into small units and let it go, and it still makes sense. Okay, and the second, what did I put here? Okay, the second example is during this gathering, we will take stock of major achievements in Taiwan and all over the world and exchange views on global and regional issues. Did you guys really do that? Yeah, kind of. Global and regional issues in the wake of a series of disastrous events. So during this gathering, you don't have to wait. You know the sentence hasn't finished yet, but you can just say 在这个盛会当中 or 这个活动当中 we will take stock of major achievements. Okay, then you just say 我们回顾过去的成果 or something. In Taiwan and all over the world, 在台湾在全世界都是如此 or something like that. This is extreme examples. Practically, you don't always do that because it makes your interpretation sounds really choppy, but that's just a technique if you are interested, okay? And another technique is part of speech. A lot of time when you do translation, no matter, because a lot of you are still learning English sometimes, right? Some people are. And if you are thinking in Chinese and you are using noun phrases, and you will think of noun phrases in English, if you are thinking verbs and you are trying to get the verbs in English, no, you don't have to do that. You can always constantly change your part of speech. 这是词性的意思. So there has been measurable improvement in U.S. PRC means mainly China, military-to-military relations in recent months. But a signs of an impending announcement of significant U.S. arms, okay. A lot of articles write like this, and it's really, it gives you a lot of nouns. In English, you will see a lot of nouns are being used, but in Chinese, when you translate, you can do it in verb instead. Like when I say, a signs of an impending announcement of blah blah blah, you can just say 迹象显示. You don't have to say, you don't always have to stick to the parts of speech. Okay, it says senior Chinese officials stepped up their warnings. 你不用想着说我要怎么提升我的警告，你就可以直接说警告他们。Then you make it warnings as a noun, but in Chinese you make it as a verb. So that you can have more flexibility when you use language. So just a little techniques to share with you. And this is my note. I love taking notes. Some people, they don't have to take much notes. They just grab, okay, let's explain it real quick. For consecutive interpretation, the speaker can speak for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, which I never encountered. Usually in the market, 3 minutes is the most, because otherwise audience will fall asleep. So 3 minutes. And you cannot memorize all 3 minutes, right? You have to take notes. It's like shorthand. I don't know if you learned it before when you're younger, 速记. But it's specifically designed for interpreters. And some people, they just take little symbols as a prompt. So you just write down maybe a symbol or a word, and you see that word, that will inspire all of your memories about this word or the story related to the word or the symbol that you took down. I'm not that. For me, I have to take down as much as I can because I forget really easily. But you cannot just write down whatever the speakers are saying, otherwise it'll take too long and it will take up most of your attention, right? So what I do is I created a system of symbols which I love to use and love to share. Okay, this is money sign, right? Can you guys see it? Money sign, this money, okay? And this I with the money sign, it's investment. And D as a money sign, it's debt. And it's a roof with the money sign, it's bank. And T as a money sign, it's what? Trade. And trade with the plus sign, it's trade surplus. Trade with the minus sign is trade deficit. B, what is B? A budget. And V with the money sign is value. Okay, that's my system that only works for me. And this is, for me, it's like eyes, okay? So I see it, you see is believe, I believe it. So I emphasize my eyes. And with the little dot here means my perspective. Because in English people say, from my perspective, blah, blah, blah. So I put it here. I know it's not my perspective, it's not other people's perspective, it's the speaker's perspective. Because you need to get the logic really clear. And here is industry, okay, like a 烟囱嘛, industry. So this is factory, S with the industry supply, D is industry demand, and this is produce or product. Oh, this repetitive. And this is 国家, that's like nation. Nation, country, import, export, crossing international. Anyway, this is just one of those systems that I use constantly. If you are interested, you can talk to me about it because I think it's a lot of fun. Do you guys think it's a lot of fun? Oh, thank you. All right, then I'll share a little more. You see? This is a chair, right? A chair with a C is chairman. With a P, president. PM, prime minister. And minister, king, queen. And of course, when you do, you cannot just take down that vocabularies or symbols because those need to have a logic. When you do interpretation, it's really important to have a clear logic. Sometimes the speaker don't have a logic, but if you interpret as nonsense, who will clients blame? They will think you're bad or the speaker's bad. Of course you're bad. So you want to make sure that you take down all the symbols and vocabularies, but you know the relationship, the causal effect, the causal relation. Okay, like A and B, these are compare or parallel. So when the speaker shares stories, okay, that's an Apple, iPhone and Android phones. And when the person is doing a comparison, I put it this way. Otherwise, after 2 minutes, you go back to a note that says, does that mean iPhone is better than Android? Or you don't know. You need to have a clear logic when you do this note taking. This is really, really important. And A and B, that means they have a good relationship. This is my relationship, and they have a relationship. A bad relationship. And you see relationship with a P, partner. And A and B, that's A influence B. If you do it the opposite way, and your interpretation will be wrong. So A influence B, this is good influence. A have good influence on B. A have negative influence on B. Okay, I think that's enough. Thank you. That's my note-taking system. Yeah.
Can you still read or understand your notes after maybe 3 months?
3 months? No. For me, a day is fine. But after a day, I recognize my symbols, but other than that, no. But that's just me. Yeah, I think a day, because usually you can only take so much information, but the speakers have so much intense information during his speech, right? So there's no way you can remember all the details. And the thing is, when you do interpretation, you can only spare part of your attention. When you try to memorize something, if you're trying to memorize, a poem, and you pay 100% attention, try to memorize it, try to memorize the poem. But when you do interpretation, you only get what? 40%, 50%. So after that, you usually forget whatever you say. Usually, that's what happened to me. I don't know if it's the case for everyone. But I only get partial attention to what I'm doing just to make sure that delivery is good. So I don't pay any attention to memorize what I just said. So sometimes if it's a really important conference or it's a press conference, especially if it's related to copy, oh gosh, all press are like, whenever you say, can I borrow your notes? First, that's confidential. Second, I don't think you can read my notes. And third, or they will interview me. Oh, what the owner just said. Or sometimes they don't really speak English or they wasn't paying attention because all media are really busy, I know. So they ask me, but I really don't remember. They said, oh, what's the revenue that the owner just mentioned? I was like, how would I know? I don't remember. Ask the owner. So it's not really easy to remember everything. That's good. You're happy? Thank you. Ian is my friend. Okay, so this is one of the notes I took a while ago. So this is how I look. I'm not going to interpret for you. I don't remember everything, but this is just to show you, like, ladies and gentlemen, 午安，非常高兴来到 maybe Stanford, because U is a university. 然后很高兴可以看到 this new, that's my new, 这个新中心的落成 because it's my established. And I hope, 这个是我的 achievement. 你看我 I use a lot of symbols. 我可以很高兴，我希望可以看到词中心可以取得亮丽的成果，something like that. And then you always, this is my surprise, right? Oh, happened to this and I was surprised. So I want to make sure this is a causal of relation, that is A causes B. When you do all these symbols, you want to make sure that you have the logic really clear, otherwise you go back, you can't really remember. So this is what my note usually. But this is one of my neatest notes. Sometimes the note get really scrambled. If it's something really technical, if it has a lot of medical terms, IT terms, you don't have time to let's make sure my notes look pretty, just in case somebody want to look at it. No. You just try to write down as much as technical terms as you can. So it really depends. But I'm sharing one of my neatest notes, of course. Okay? And there are a few things I would like to share with you. When you do interpretation, there are a lot of things that are not translatable. We call it untranslatability as an excuse of not translating it. Or I'll call it a challenge, or, First thing is jokes. Not all jokes are translatable. And, I don't know if you heard it before, but I used it before. One of the spokesperson, it was a seminar in California, and the person was a spokesperson from Emergency Center of California. So he was a spokesperson, right? So he has so much pride in what he says. He thinks he's the funniest man in the world. He's really not funny. And when he says a joke, I think I did a perfect job of interpreting that not really funny joke. But people don't laugh, it's not my fault, but he got really mad. He stared at me, thinking I didn't do a great job. So what I did is said, 大家笑一下，很好笑. And then people laughed, and he's happy. So everything worked. I said, yes, it worked. So there are a lot of ways to do it. Some people, they're really sensitive to the jokes that he told and had no sense of the difficulty or the culture gap between English and Chinese. Usually good speakers would, because they got a lot of experiences being interpreted. So that's the one thing. And the second is dialect. My Taiwanese is horrible, but in Taiwan, some people that love to say Taiwanese, or as a slang in Taiwanese. I just don't get it. And usually it's funny that when Taiwanese people do that, they are so scared that you don't get it. They'll be like, I don't know if translators can do that. Let me explain, and then you can explain. So it's okay. I never really run into a situation that speakers just start to speak Taiwanese and expect that the interpreters will understand. It never happened to me. And forward phrases. I'm not saying that the forward phrases cannot be translated, but the most difficult part is in Chinese, you do forward phrase 成语, forward phrase, done, and you continue. But English, it takes 2 sentences to explain, and maybe, this because of that, and then so this happened to that, and then the speaker really goes on to the next topic, and you can never catch up. But on the other side, if English speakers were trying to explain a situation, and you found out that I can just express that long sentence with forwards in Chinese, and be so happy. But come on, I'll wait for you. So this is really funny. And language structure in Chinese and English, I don't see a big challenge about that, because English is subject, verb, object, right? Subject, verb, object. In Chinese, it's pretty much the same thing. But if you are, because I've learned French for a few years, and then French, it's subject, object, and verb. Thank you. Verb comes at the very, very end. I think Japanese somehow, similar. So you have to wait, because you cannot cut that into meaningful units and get it out without a verb. In Chinese, you always need some kind of verbs to understand, to make sense of your sentence in Chinese. So you have to wait. So usually, that kind of situation, the lag is really, really long, which makes interpreting really exhausting. I don't like that. So good that Chinese and English don't have that problems. But what Chinese and English have is the number problems, which are really, really... Okay, if you just say a 1,002,000 something, I'm okay. But if it's a conference of numbers, and you keep talking all the numbers and with a really fast speed, then it's really hard to catch up. This is time when the partner gets into play. The partner is supposed to help you to write down all the numbers, and you can just follow the numbers and read it, and it doesn't have to take up your attention. And sometimes if you're like, oh shit, the number is coming, oh another number is coming, oh shit, another number is coming, and you cannot hear the next or whatever the speakers are saying because you got so caught up from that oh shit number. So make sure it's really funny. And next is culture sensitivity. It's really important because sometimes this joke is funny in Chinese or in China, but not funny, for English-speaking countries or something, or the other way around. I remember when I was interpreting for a direct sales company, I've been helping them to do interpretation for a long time, and they always had the speakers from mainland China, and that speaker was so sexist. She made fun of like girls and girls' butt the whole time. And really hated it, because for me I was like, this is not funny, but you still have to do it. Or sometimes, okay, some people say like, oh, in this market, 是个僧多粥少的市场. This means that the demand is higher than the supply is higher than the demand, 僧多粥少. And then the speaker comes to say, 那就杀几个和尚就好啦. So oh shit, they say, oh, let's just kill some monks and then they will work. You can't do that. So this is some challenges that interpreters usually encounter, and you always have to like think about a solution as soon as possible. So the solution you came up with may not be the best one because you only have like a split second, but you want to be more careful about that. So being able to understand the culture difference is really important too. You don't want the speakers or those great person, the figure like Benenki get really mad, right? You don't want to do that. And PC, it's political correctness. American people, they always care about politically correctness, or they don't want to. I remember when I was still in school, there was a conference about sex education, and all those interpreters from mainland China, they are so good, they are professional, but they don't know how to say all those sex terms and slangs. They got really shy, they don't know how to do it. So they would be like, oh, try to use euphemism, which means that they use something else to kind of cover, like the really serene or really to clear up the sex implication. They don't like that. But for me, I was like, you translate what speaker says, right? I don't see a problem there. So, or will Chinese people say, oh, 黑人, do you say black men or say African American? So it really depends on the situation. If it's a really formal conference, you probably want to be careful. I remember like 4 years ago, I was doing a translation for APAC. You always need to say Chinese Taipei. Chinese Taipei, Chinese Taipei, Chinese Taipei. But for me, I was like, come on, it's Taiwan. And when they say, oh, you should come visit Taiwan, you don't say you should come visit Chinese Taipei, right? Taiwan is a place, it's a land, it's a tourism destination. It's not a political government. And I just said Taiwan, and all the Chinese officials got so mad and raised their hands. Oh, she shouldn't be doing that. That's against the rule. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, shocked. Come on, calm down. But that's something you need to keep in mind when you are doing interpreters, because I shouldn't be saying that. But I don't know, what should I say? Come visit Chinese Taipei. But this is something you need to communicate in advance with their clients. Okay. Maybe you're not interested. I was assuming that people might be interested in doing interpretation or translation. But these are some nitty-gritty that you can see. Like, first things, if you are interested in translation or interpretation, Chinese comes first, English second, which means when you're in Taiwan in this market, you want to make sure your Chinese is really good. You want to do interpretation, doesn't mean, oh, my English is so good, I can go to interpret. No, you can't, because Chinese is always so important, especially in the Taiwanese market, in the Chinese market, which are booming right now. They always want you, to have some good Chinese. They don't want to have choppy Chinese. I don't know what I'm saying, or your Chinese sounds like English. They don't want to hear that, right? So, or you say, oh, 你就是 cross that street, 然后地下 under 有个 restaurant， 你在那里就会有人 meet you, greet you. When you say Chinese, stick to Chinese. When you say English, stick to English. If you do that, I'm not blaming you, but I think that's really important to learn a language. If you are cursing, that's another story. I know Taiwanese curse is always so much better, but if you want to say a language with a sentence, start a language with a sentence, complete that in that language. Don't do code switching. Code switching is English, Chinese, Chinese, English, English, Chinese. I think you're cool. No, because that's my profession. I'm personally against that. And teamwork and communication skills are really important because you have to work with the team as a partner. You want to make sure you're helping your partners to do like numbers and stuff, but sometimes you still want to rest, right? So you need to have a tacit understanding between your partners. What kind of situation you want to, maybe I want to help you, but you give me so much pressure. Are you like trying to listen to what I interpret? So you want to have a tacit understanding. I mean, some conferences or seminars or clients, I've been working for such a long time. So me and my partners, we always like do Facebook. When it's her turn, I'll do Facebook. I don't listen to what she said. So as long as you have a tacit understanding, then that's okay. And great logic and rephrasing skills. Oh, this is so important. I'm not saying that Chinese or Chinese people don't have logic. We do, but some people don't. Especially when they raise a question. So, two things. First, they talk the background. There's so much about unrelated stuff. And then at the very last minute, at the very last second, he or she raised a question. But when you do simultaneous interpretation, because you have to kind of guess what he is going, so you need to follow the thread of logic. Otherwise, you cannot interpret, right? Otherwise, you have to listen to 1 minute, that's what he said. But you have to make judgment, constant judgment, like try to think where he or she is going. So if the logic is really bad, then you need to find the logic for the person. That's the most difficult part for a lot of interpreters. And also, some Taiwanese people, they really want to practice English, which is great. But if you don't have enough confidence, if you have too much confidence in the conference, and you refuse to use interpretation service, it's fine. But make sure that your questions are understandable. There are a few scenarios that the person, Taiwanese guys that raise his hand and ask a question in English, and the speaker look at me. What did he say? I was like, I thought that was in English. Like he didn't understand. So I have to do English to English translation for the Taiwanese guy. So I encourage everyone to speak English, but make sure that you can clearly express yourself, especially, we are just getting so much money, for one day. Just try to consider our situation. And observation skills is really funny because sometimes when you do whispering, but you don't, because you're always so close to the clients, right? You don't know. Maybe this is the moment that the clients are not interested. So maybe the clients will like keep changing the position, like doing this and doing that. You kind of have to judge if the clients want to hear what you're talking about. And good breath smell for whispering. I don't smoke and drink that day when I have to do whispering. And sometimes strong coffee, I don't do that. Otherwise, your breath might be really bad. And the clients will be like, that's what's that. So that's really important too. Endurance, that's really funny because usually when we do simultaneous interpretation, we have 20 minutes switch. So 20 minutes and I switch, and 20 minutes and she switches, and that back and forth. But there was one time that I met, usually we have like partners that we usually work with, but sometimes, like the organizers might recommend, they had all kinds of situations. So my partner, which I didn't know before, she was newer, which is fine. I was new and I'm still new. I have 6 years of experience. I think I'm still new. But she may be too scared, and after 20 minutes, she'll be like, and pass the microphone to you. I was like, what? I wasn't paying attention. So you always want to make sure that you finish a sentence at least, and then switch partner for every 20 minutes. But that was the only time. Usually we have the understanding of you at least need to finish a paragraph or finish a unit, and then you switch your partner. Then to make sure the translation will go smooth. Let it go. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. Let it go is really important because sometimes you make a mistake, especially for simultaneous interpretation. It's really easy to make mistakes sometimes, like small mistakes or something that you just don't get it. But if you continue to do it, you will get it afterwards because the speakers usually will explain afterwards. So it's okay if you do like 1 or 2 little mistakes, it's fine. You fix it afterwards. But sometimes people get so caught up, oh shit, I made a mistake, everybody knows it, but clients will know it, and then you're crashed. You can never continue. This is the time your partner should cover you. And that's really important too. I remember when I was my first assignment when I was still a student. It was a really big assignment. We got 40 high government officials from Taiwan flying over to the States for seminars. And that was our first assignment. And then my endurance wasn't that great because I wasn't so used to doing interpretation for like 8 hours. I remember there was a moment that I was so tired and was trying to take notes, and that the speakers speak every single word, blah, blah, blah. I understand every single word that he said, but every word was like knock at my head and fall on the ground and all dancing around on the ground. I couldn't make sense of what he said. So this is something that we need to get trained, like to have better and longer endurance to do interpretation, because it's really, really burning your brain. And background knowledge is really important. I want to share with you one thing. There wasn't my story, it was one of my partner's story. We always need to constantly be willing to learn new things, because you never know what kind of conferences that you will get or what kind of assignments. Of course, you can have your preferences. That's it. I do a lot of IT industry stuff. I do it because a lot of interpreters don't like, because they're all good at languages. They're not good at IT stuff. So they refuse to do that. But for me, oh, come on. IT terms, they are not translated, right? You just throw out English words and put some verbs over there. For me, I think that's more, it's easier. But for other interpreters, they don't like, oh, IT stuff, they are so scared. So it depends. I do have my preferences. But I also do medical interpretation. A lot of people don't like. I like it because people don't like it, so nobody want to take it, so I can take it. Why not? But that means that I have to constantly be willing to learn new stuff, even though it's all the liver with all the organs, with all these vessels. You still have to memorize it and be passionate. You don't have to be passionate, but be willing to learn it. And for me, I don't like star signs. I know people that say, oh, what's your star sign? Oh, you were born in November. You must be blah, blah, blah. I always refuse to join that conversation. So if you want to talk to me later, don't ask my star sign. I don't know. But however, one of my friends, she's from mainland China, and she was about to join the interpretation between a banker, a really big banker from Taiwan. So she was doing all the glossaries, revenue, how to say that in Chinese, and do all this investment, like return on equity, those kind of phrases. She said, okay, I'm so prepared. And the banker didn't say a word about investment. He started to talk about his star sign. He was like, oh shit, I do not know how to say all those phrases in English. So the person was like, oh, 我是处女座哎. I said, I'm a virgin? And she knows that's wrong. And she's like, oh, 我最喜欢遇到处女座的朋友. I like to make friends with virgins. And it was so embarrassing. I was like, oh shit, I really need to learn how to say star signs in English. Anyway, that's an example that you always have to be actively learning new stuff, and you just don't refuse to learn new stuff. You never know what kind of situation you might encounter. And conduit, it's like you see yourself, or I see myself as a conduit to do translation. I'm just a channel. Chinese in, English out, English in, Chinese out. Okay, I just don't have any opinions about me. So I was talking to Ian earlier, it's like, you know what? I usually say what other people say. I host a lot of events. I say what my clients want me to say. I don't know what I really want to say. It's really hard for me. So I remember when I was beginning to do a translator, I had so much personal opinions. Oh no, he's wrong, that's stupid. No, girls are not like that. But if you have those thoughts, it will crash, it will affect you during interpretation. You cannot do that. You want to make sure you're clean, no self-ego, just let the language go in and out. So that's something really difficult for me at the very beginning. And and just some sharing. I do a lot of host and MC. MC, not that MC, but I know what you guys are thinking. Master of ceremony. And this is Cohen's. I did an event for him, the city mayor, and then also I did hosting for Computex, and it's a lot of fun. I do that. I do a lot in English. So Taiwan, a lot of local vendors want to go international, so they would like to invite English hosts, professional English hosts, to do event for them. Okay, and I'm also a regular radio host. I do if you are interested, you can go podcast. If you are using iPhone, your podcast to search 无料福利社. And what we do is that this is my partner. His name is Ken. We go to 台中的全国广播网, and we talk international events, but in a really funny ways. Because if you are too serious, nobody wanna listen to it. So we try to be more funny, like funnier. And last time we were talking about 民众杂官员, like what kind of items do people throw at officials when they do the protest. And one of the things that we were sharing was a dildo. You guys know dildo? Alright. Can I say that in Chinese? That's fine. Everybody is about 18, right? Are you? 好 dildo 就是假洋具. So I was sharing that the person was throwing a dildo on Minister of Economy of New Zealand because they think that if New Zealand signs TPP, thank you, TPP, and then that means that the national power or whatever will be raped by other countries. So she claimed that the protester claimed that I throw a dildo has a meaningful meaning, it has a deep meaning. That means that the government shouldn't be doing that. So we are sharing stories about that, and this is the cabinet, violent cabinet. People think that our legislators fight a lot, right, in Taiwanese government. So we are sharing that no, other countries fight and about the same amount because we fight a lot, really. Like South Korea, like Russian or other countries, they fight a lot in the legislatures as well. So we are sharing all these international events, but in a more humorous way. So we do that pretty much once a week or once every 2 weeks, but we record in advance. So if you are interested, you can search that 无料福利社. It's on YouTube, it's on podcast. If you have Android phone, it's on AirCloud. Android 是用什么? Not podcast, but the other one. AirCloud. Nobody use Android? Okay, then it's fine. Oh. So podcast is for iPhone, and Android has the other one.
Yeah, because the main software that can do podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we have all these on different platforms, so. And this is what I already said. The reason why I founded this fan page with my partner Ken is because we think our news are not paying any attention to international news and current events, what's happening around the world, but we think it's really, really important. So we do this, it's a really serious, it's more serious. So we don't have much perspective. Sometimes I do if I feel like, but we don't have much of perspective. We state facts. And 无料福利社, we have this 无料福利社, we also have another fan page that has more perspective. We be more sarcastic. So we have 2 fan pages to do that. So if you are interested, we're all volunteering. We're trying to find some money right now. A lot of sponsors are interested in us, but interested and getting money is just 2 different things. And what we also do is that we do what I just said is the summarize international news every single day. Sometimes if we miss one day, that means we're drunk, but usually we do every single day. But if you are willing to join us, then you can fill up our drunk days and we can have it every single day. 99% we have it every single day. And then we also found some short videos that has some international implications or something happened around the world, and then we translated that. These are one of our most popular posts as well. And also we do reaction videos. Reaction videos are really popular in the States. That's Game of Thrones, and the trailer came out, and a few Americans say, oh, what's happening there? Oh shit, that's so stupid. That's reaction videos. We do a little more intelligently, but we do that for, Donald Trump had a really stupid presentation or a speech, and then we just run the speech, and then we reacted to it and put a little comment. So we do that too once in a while if we have time. And this is no pressure newsroom, that it's still international news, but in a really funny or some fun things happening around the world. So we do all these different things to satisfy our different target audience. We are still not getting paid, but I love doing that because I feel like I'm doing something great. I'm raising awareness of international views or perspective or people around the world, or for Taiwanese people, because I feel a lot of people are not interested. They are either not interested or they don't have enough exposure. But you guys are all really good in English, so you guys shouldn't have any excuse. And that's it. That's all about me. Any questions? Yeah, I'm done. If not, I can leave, right? Yeah.
What's the most interesting part for your job?
What's the
Interesting part?
What's the most interesting part of my job? I think I share most of my interesting parts of my job during my presentation. If you pay attention to it, I'm just kidding. I think I like it because I can learn a lot of things. And okay, because when I was in high school and college, I didn't really care about whatever happened. I only care about my basketball, my own stuff. I don't care what's happening around the world. And doing interpretation job really helps me to open my eyes to the outside world, because I'm forced to read all these materials and I have to be constantly aware of what's going on around the world, because you never know what the speakers will bring up, right? So you have to always know, oh, maybe this happened in the States, this happened in Saudi Arabia, because you never know, this might have some relationship between the financial world, and maybe next time you have a financial conference, you at least need to have some background knowledge. So I was forced myself, I was paid to do that as well, because I was getting paid to do interpretation. But I like it because I feel like my vision was totally different, and I was able to have some really deep conversation with my friends as well. And my dad starts to look up to me. Before he was like, you only play basketball, hey, you are not even professional, what are you doing then? And now he was like, oh, I respect your job. I said, all right. So I like that. Any other question?
So because you said that like you're supposed to put your personal opinions or feelings aside,
Yeah.
but I think my question would be, how difficult is it to convey emotions that sometimes speakers might have that would affect what they said actually meant?
Oh, it was really hard because I was an opinionated person. I have a lot of opinions. You probably could know that. I have a lot of opinions. But once or twice you encounter a situation that because you have so much opinions that affect your interpretation delivery, and I stopped doing that because you just see yourself as a robot. And the other thing that still affected me, because I have 2 dogs, I love dogs, and there was a time that I was interpreting for SPCA. I stopped animal cruelty kind of organization. So during that conference, it was all the pictures about how people tortured animals. That affected me a lot. I don't think I did a great job in that particular case because all those pictures are really, really cruel and with all the blood, and it was really scary. But other than that, I think I'm really used to, letting my self-ego away.
I think it's more like, because when you interpret for another person, if that person is very emotional. And
Oh,
then
I'm
when you
emotional too, don't you feel that?
It's like you also have to convey in your interpretation that emotion.
Are you talking about what's his name? The celebrity?
The anger translator one?
No, not only mean personal. No, that was a while ago, like 7 or 8 years ago when 那个嘴歪歪的叫什么名字？陈冠希。Yeah. I think what happened in Chen Guanxi was that you know what's happening for Chen Guanxi? Yeah, right? Okay. So he was apologizing in his press conference, but his interpreter, he was all calm. So I feel really sorry, I apologize to make this chaos. And his interpreter said, I feel deeply sorry. Yeah, that's the situation. No, usually what I do is because my interpretation is for communication purposes. So I want to make sure the audience can hear my voice nicely. So when I talk like this, because I'm giving a presentation, this is real me. But when I do interpretation, I'm softer, I'm calmer, and I'm not mean. Yeah, if you hear my voice, you can't even tell. So I want to make sure that the audience feel, comfortable and pleasant to hear my voice. So even the speakers has a little emotion. I usually want to convey it a little bit, but I don't do it too loud, and otherwise you might it might hurt your ears. So that's the main purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, you're happy? Yeah.
So I was wondering if it would become really difficult to actually interpret. I don't know.
Like an angry person? I'm good at that.
No. Like, basically, if we broadcast like an episode of soap opera,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to do, interpret that.
But the thing is, when we go to conferences for interpretation, like, if they pay the money for interpreters, they usually are professional speakers. They are getting interpreted too. So you don't get all crazy, use all the slangs or dialects that interpreters cannot understand. You still have some that kind of speakers, but really few. So I think usually what I encounter is the opposite. Usually I met a lot of good speakers, because if you have a speakers who, it's hard for people to comprehend what you said, and how would you expect interpreters to be able to interpret? So usually it's the other way around. It's the academic conferences, like really highly academic scholars who come here like a robot or zombie just to read his essays of the newest, whatever on the newest journal because he needs to get promoted or something. His purpose wasn't to communicate. He would just want to get it done and read the essays or dissertations. Okay, if I do get a paper in advance, that's great, but a lot of the time we don't. We always push that. We want to make sure we get a document in advance, but sometimes there are still, situations that I don't get anything, and the person just like keep reading and reading. Nobody can understand. What can you do? Usually it's that way, not the emotional part, but the emotionless part. That's the most difficult part, because for us, we have to follow the logic, the thread of logic. It's easier if you have intonation, because I can know you are being affirmative or you're being negative. We can tell. But if you don't have any intonation, it's really hard. And then put audience to sleep, put interpreters to sleep.
So are there like special interpreters for courts?
Yeah, I do court sometimes.
So like when foreign witness testifies before court.
In court, court is different because, when I was talking about the logic has to be clear and the thoughts, and you have to rephrase sometimes of what the speakers are saying, but in the court situation it's different. You don't have a lot of lag, or usually it's consecutive. The person says and you say, and it's really short. You want to make sure you follow the exact sequence of what the speaker says. Even though it doesn't make sense, you still convey exactly the same things. You have to do that, because otherwise it can affect the ruling. So the court is a completely different situation. Yeah. Thank you. That's a professional question. Oh, this is going to be more professional.
You introduced 4 types of interpretation services in the market earlier, right? And in Taiwan, it seems that the demand for simultaneous interpretation is higher than consecutive interpretation. I'm currently a translator. I don't have professional experience in interpretation so far, but I do want to try out some consecutive cases. Could you give me some tips?
Yes, they are more simultaneous. I would say that simultaneous pay better. I wouldn't say there's more simultaneous than consecutive. And sometimes, because people would think that consecutive is easier. So they might, if we work as a company, your English is really good, and maybe you can help me, then I don't have to pay you shit, right? That could happen often. So whatever assignments go up to the market, usually is simultaneous, because you know that you cannot exploit your coworkers to do simultaneous, because people usually don't know how to do it. And the tip is, are you working with translation agency right now? No, I don't either. They don't pay you anything, but. I know to start with, some people would do that. Wanxiang is the most professional translation agency. They pay you the market price of simultaneous interpretation. Not every other people do. And I think to have a really strong expertise is really important. Like for me, I do a lot of IT stuff. So I will start with doing a lot of IT translation. So I prove myself I'm capable of doing that. And then the same agency, either translation or commercial or I'll tell you the name of the vendors later. And then they will know that you may be able to do that. And 104外包网 may have some good. Usually they don't pay as well, but it's a good way to start into the interpretation market. We can talk more. Yeah. Any other questions?
As an excellent interpreter, you inevitably encounter something.
Excellent or what?
Excellent interpreter.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Sorry.
And you inevitably encounter something you don't understand, which means a little bit abstract to you. And how to do you have some special training?
Oh, of course.
To get some
You mean 废话, right? Intelligent way. Yes. Okay. Because sometimes you don't know what the speakers are going, or sometimes he's not making sense out of himself. It's really commonly seen. So what you do is you have a lot of filler. Do you know what filler is? 有点像口头禅 like filler is that, well, like people usually don't do that, but well, or this, like, or in Chinese, 那个, and people think it's nigger, but it's not. There was one time that my client was like, I think you are doing a great job. I was like, how do you possibly know? You don't even speak Chinese. Like, I didn't hear any nigger. You guys say a lot of nigger. We know it. I was like, okay. We are trained not to use any fillers. So it's just we are trained not to use it because it's not good. It's not a good habit to have when you do interpretation. And what did you ask? Hold on, I remember. I didn't have my notes, but I remember. Oh yeah, so sometimes if you stop saying something in the microphone, then people will be, because you are still waiting for, to judge what the speakers are going, right? And the audience will be, ooh, is it broken? Is it broken? Is somebody's there? Ooh, is it broken? So you always have to say something. So you prepare a lot of fillers that sounds more intelligent. 依照我的看法，我觉得关于这个主题，他走的方向大概是这样，那就什么都没讲。Yeah, something like that.
Get the connotation denotation from what the speaker says.
The connotation? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Do you really get what they mean about what they really want to express?
If we are clear, of course we do, but and preparation is really important too. Always make sure that you require and request a client to give you some kind of information that you could prepare. And Googling and doing research is also really important. We are trained to do that as well. Is if I go to a conference and related to this topic, and I will do all kinds of possible research that I can and have a glossary. And then that will help you a lot. Because sometimes if the speakers are not making sense, you still have some background knowledge to guess. And background knowledge will help you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
So how long does it normally take?
Research?
Yeah.
0 to a week or a month.
So did you kind of talk with the speaker?
Did I get to talk to the speakers? Yes, we usually do, and I usually request that too. You'll be like, oh, could you look more professional, even though you don't want to talk to the speakers. I will arrive at least 30 minutes before so I can talk to the speakers and we can communicate. I always do that, but it doesn't mean that always helps. But clients feel like, wow, you're so professional.
Google him or her.
Yeah, if he or her is really famous, yes, of course you do that. But sometimes it's confidential. And if I interpret for Kopi, he never follows what he prepared. Kopi, his team always gives you a speech, and you know that you don't have to look at it. So it really depends. And for the IT conference, I do a lot of conference for IBM. And the first IBM conference, I prepared for a month. I memorized all, because they give you the slide in advance. I memorized every single slide. And then now, I just scan through it and I can go. So it really depends on the topics.
What's the most difficult one?
What?
What's the most difficult one?
The most difficult? Of course, the medical one. The medical one is the most difficult one. But it's difficult because there are a lot of technical terms. They have all kinds of different vessels. And one vessel, it has like 100 kinds. They all look the same. But once you get those terms down, it's easy because they only have scissor, cut this vessel. Scissor, stitch this vessel. Oh, no. Thread, stitch this vessel. They don't have like abstract ideas and imagination. Those are really difficult for me. I can't really do those imagination kind of interpretation. I do like concrete stuff. So people have different preferences and different expertise that makes you competitive in the market. That's the case for all situation, right? All industry. Good? Oh.
I found it pretty difficult for estimation of numbers, especially Chinese and English.
Yeah.
And I sometimes do it alone. So
You still want to do it alone?
I mean, do the translation. I mean, because we have, but not.
So you want to do it with me? What?
No, I mean, my job I have to do translation for industry.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, financial industry. So
Yeah.
there's tons of numbers out there.
Oh yeah.
But again, I found that's pretty challenging.
You mean translation? You mean interpretation?
I mean numbers.
Numbers for translation.
Chinese, I mean one, like you have to think about 3 zeros and four zeros.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
think about Chinese, yeah, I mean,
Oh,
to
you mean
translate.
The conversion between Chinese and English for numbers.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, what we do is that you have someone else to record numbers, series of numbers, like 3241, 12450 or something like that, for like 20 minutes, and you just do that. Yeah, just record it and you put it on your headphones and interpret, and you recorded your interpretation, and you go back to your interpretation and see if you make any mistake. That's how I train myself. But some people are still better than others, of course. But at least if you encounter any numbers, then you don't get freaked out. You just have to train your brain for it. That's it. Or if you have better techniques.
I was wondering, like, start your career as a freelancer. Yes. Or do you find your clients or what to do?
Okay. As a freelancer, I remember everyone was, because I was still considerably younger in my industry. Usually people go to a company to work as an in-house interpreter or in-house translator or whatever, and to build up your knowledge. Just like if I work in a company for like 6 years, and you come out to the free market, you'll be like, I'm really good at whatever I'm saying in this industry, and it's persuasive. People trust you. But for me, it was a little difficult because first I was trying to join a company, but I got a really big assignment. Let's say I joined the free market in September, but I got a really big assignment for 7 days in November. So I couldn't get any job between that, because who will let you to go out for like a week to do other jobs? So I didn't look for any jobs. So that was how I started. And then I continued to have, constantly have assignments planned in advance. So I didn't really go into the company to do in-house. And then after 2 years, I did find myself to be less persuasive, to be expertise in particular industry, because I was doing all these different kind of assignments. So I did join SAP. I don't know if you know SAP. It's the biggest German software company in Europe, and I joined them for like 8 months, and it was agreed that I told them I can come to work as a full-time, but here this day and that day and this day and that day, I have to go out for interpretation assignments, and they needed people so much, so desperately, they let me do it. But after 8 months, I was so exhausted because I would have to take care of their business. I have to go out for interpretation outside of the company. And we have a big team, like 20 people of interpreters. How could I go out and work to get extra money while my coworkers are in the company doing my job? I feel really bad, even though it was agreed between me and my boss. But I didn't feel right, so I left after 8 months. And then I started to IT industry because I said I work for SAP. So that works. So I did have a little experiences in the company, but not how I started. And how I started my freelancer was, of course, I do a lot of internet searches. I go to a lot of events like this, maybe, gather events. And like if you know me, you know I'm an interpreter, and I do a lot of translation at the first 2 years. So your client know that you are a really good translator, which may imply that you may be a good interpreter too, right? It's a good starting point. And I go to a lot of events, and when we exchange business cards, and you tell me that, oh, maybe we need your service, potential interpretation service in the future. And I emailed the person every like 3节吧, New Year's and Christmas and maybe 端午节 or Dragon Boat Festival. I at least email the person 3 times a year to make sure, to constantly remind that I'm still existing in the world. I did it for the first 2 years and I stopped. Yeah, too lazy. But it really helped. Maybe you send out 100 emails, only one was effective, but that one will be effective forever. So that's how I started. And Facebook too. I started to get a lot of assignments from Facebook referral after probably 2 years ago until now, because I already established myself as an interpreter and as a host, English host, and I constantly put some information about my job, but in a really funny way. I don't do like, I do this conference, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to look at that. But I just, pick at my client and say something really funny on my Facebook. But people have the impression that, oh, you are an interpreter and you might be funny or something like that. So I do that and started to get a lot of, startups. A lot of startups company will ask me for help because they might not go to the agency, but they might know me through friends referral. Or some people will post this thing saying that, on September 2nd, I need an interpreter and I need an English host. And people will tag me. It's like, Kylie Wang, check this out. That kind of stuff. That really works in Taiwan as a freelancer. Anything else?
Is it like, do you comma your zeros? So when you do the numbers, right? Because some people, when they write the numbers, they have a comma to denote thousands or like 10,000.
Yeah.
For one, it's 4 zeros, but then for 4,000 is like 3 zeros. So like do interpreters don't do that, or
You mean to take notes, or you mean in my brain?
when they take the note, they actually write down that comma.
I do comma because it's faster. I don't have to write like 000. So if it's like 1,000, I put 1 and comma. But that's my habit. People have different ways.
Do you think your vision is getting more and more broad?
My vision?
Broad, getting broader and broader after you do
I wouldn't say I'm getting narrow-sighted, right? Of course. I think I like what I'm doing is because I'm able, of course, interpretation is really challenging and the market is really competitive right now, especially a lot of international conferences are moved to mainland China and Shanghai. So I think that's true for a lot of industries. So I think it's different because like 10 years ago, all these professional interpreters, they can just lay down at home and all the assignments, cases, or do it at their face. They say, I don't need this, I don't need that. They have so many cases to choose from in the market. But here, when I entered the market, it was after the financial crisis. Come on, everything was so slow. That's the reason why I do interpretation, I do translation, I do host, and now I even establish my own business now. It's volunteering business for fan pages and stuff. Because I need to have my combination to compete in the market. Now in the market, you can't really say, I only do financial interpretation, period. Other than that, don't come find me. No, but if you are like really senior and people all respect you, that kind of interpreters, maybe that works. I think that's the same to a lot of industry as well. In my age, I need to prove that I'm able to this and this and that and that. If you want me to do interpretation, yes, I can do that. If you want to have a big translation project, you need 10 people, I find 10 people for you. If you need interpretation and you need a host in the night banquet, I can do that. I do interpretation in the morning and I do banquet at night and I charge a lot of money for that. But people like remember you, they think you're a solution. You help them to solve a lot of questions. They don't have to go through the agency. So that's my combination of how I compete in the market. People have different combinations. I saw people, they only translated artistic history and art industry. And that works too because there are so many demands. So it's just how you position yourself in the market. Yeah.
So like, have you done any sort of interpretation for business negotiations?
Yes. A law negotiation too.
Is that intense?
No,
So like.
No, I don't think so.
So the atmosphere isn't really like.
Oh, I don't really care about the atmosphere. I think the most tense atmosphere will be in the court.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, somebody kills someone and then, this and that, and this English-speaking person wasn't being respected in the court as well. Even the judge might be like, I don't really care because they are not our citizen. Those kind of stuff affect me even more. But for business negotiation, come on, it's just business. And for me, those are not really difficult because usually for business setting, they do it for consecutive. So you can clearly know what the logic is about, and then you go for it. And negotiation usually lasts for like a year. And then you totally know their position already. They'll be like, Kylie, go negotiate for us. We don't have to wait for the interpretation because I know so much already. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
You said you have to force yourself concentrate on listening and interpret at the same time. Do you have a way to practice it while you are doing that?
Like when you, okay, for me, I think it's really important if you're interested in interpretation or anything like that or language learning, it's really important that you are used to learning, absorbing new knowledge through listening. Because for me, when I was younger, when I was in school, I never paid attention to teachers. I always do whatever I did whatever I want, or I wasn't in class, and I studied by myself. And I had so much confidence in that. I think I could study so much better and more efficient than the teachers, which is wrong. But so I'm really used to learning knowledge through reading. So, but that gives me a lot of headache when I do interpretation. Because interpretation, you absorb all the knowledge or whatever input through listening. So I have to force myself, or I know that was my weak point. So I listen to podcasts every single day, all kinds of podcasts. There are so many different podcasts on your smartphones, and I listen when I go. I don't have any music in my phone because I know that if I have music, I'll listen to music. So I never listen to any music when I'm on the MRT. When I'm walking on the street, when I do jogging, I always and only listen to podcasts. There are a lot of interesting things, not only news. News are boring. You don't listen to news all the time. My favorite podcast is American Life. That's my favorite podcast. Oh, I love it. I can't live without it. American Life, it's so fun. It even has a radio show, and it tells you all kinds of different topics in all settings, like criminal cases, or I don't know, I can't really, or how a girls think or how a guys think or whatever. It has all kinds of different topics. So I always have to constantly absorb new knowledge through listening, and that helps a lot. Answer your question? Okay. Any other questions?
And there's a phenomenal interpreter in the presidential inauguration ceremony. How do you think about it?
He has a nice and mellow voice.
Yeah, how do you think about his performance?
He's not professionally trained, so no, he's not. He just, I think he's bilingual, right? Yeah, he's not professionally trained. But a good thing about him is that he's familiar with the